What's up guys, it's me Wasabi and I'm back with another review. Today we're gonna take a look at the VAXEE PD, and this was sent to me by VAXEE to try out. And man, I was very excited to try this mousepad. Was because I'll share more about it in a bit. But as always with the content on my channel, these are my thoughts, personal opinions, and experiences with the product. Now before we go any further, let's manage some expectations here real quick. The VAXEE PD was specifically designed for esports professionals who value maximum stability, comfort, and consistency in gameplay according to VAXEE. It is handmade, and this pad according to them is quite difficult to produce with perfect consistency. And just looking at the pad, you can see why. It's not your typical cloth mouse pad. This is a pad that I wanted to spend more time with because hard cloth pads take a much longer time to break in and change with how it feels. So I had this one since June. Now the VAXEE PD is available on their US and Canadian website for $49.99 USD and €54.99 Euros on their EU website. But first, the packaging. The packaging is flat and it's the same style of packaging that they use for the VAXEE PB mousepad as well. So what you got is an outer cardboard packaging with a synthetic sleeve that is commonly used to prevent scratches or damage during shipping. And inside this sleeve is where you would find the mousepad is placed. I've never experienced a cloth mousepad quite like this one before. It is heavy and it's technically a hard pad, but you can still roll it up, which I don't know, I find it very interesting for some reason. Visually, it's quite minimal, but at the same time, this pad looks like $1,000,000 on my desk. It's essentially a black mousepad with a big VAXEE logo printed in champagne gold on the bottom. I guess they placed it there because this isn't a very large pad, so if they put it on the top right, the logo is likely to get in the way. This pad is smaller than average today and it's very thick. Dimensions, this is 480 by 400 and the thickness is 5.6 millimeters. And the VAXEE PD weighs almost 1 kilogram, 975 grams to be exact. It's the thickness of this pad that makes a rounded edge design even more essential, as it helps keep the pad comfortable when resting your arm on it. To my knowledge, they have a 500 by 500 millimeter size, and that should be available to purchase, or if not, anytime soon. This pad is handmade, and honestly, it looks and feels like the most premium cloth pad I've ever used, and the surface feels ridiculously smooth and luxurious. VAXEE does have a notice on their website stating that each PD mousepad is handcrafted, and slight imperfections on the underside, such as fine lines, small dents, and slightly uneven edges are unavoidable during production. That is something that's expected with handmade products, and for this mousepad, it's really well done. And for the price of $49.99 USD, given how it looks and feels, I would have thought that it would cost a lot more. There are no stitches. My god, the pad looks damn good on camera. Anyway, basically super smooth all around the pad, and they slope down to the base very elegantly. It is very cool, and this edge design does feel like a different level of comfort that I never experienced on the mousepad before, at least for cloth pads. And don't forget that this pad is very thick. My favorite part is the way that it looks, because I always position my mousepad right up to the edge, and the shape of the sides makes the PD look like it's part of my table. On top of that, the angle of the edge feels very comfortable to rest my arm against it. The only potential concern for the VAXEE PD with regards to comfort is that the pad is hard, so you don't feel any cushioning when resting your hand on it, but that's just how hard pads are. But on a positive note, the VAXEE PD is probably the most comfortable experience on a hard pad that you can find today, and that's because the edge design is just so effective. One very unique characteristic of the PD is that you can still roll it up despite it being a hard pad. VAXEE even tested it rolled up in a box for 30 days and it laid completely flat afterward. That is very interesting for a hard pad, and it makes it more portable and durable, which they did highlight is crucial for esports pros who travel and want a consistent feel wherever they go. Of course, the only trade-off is the pad's weight, which is almost 1 kilogram, which makes you think twice about taking this out with you, but the quality of this base is very good. So the surface is the same material as what VAXEE uses for their PA and PB series pads. The PA surface, to my knowledge, is very similar to Zoe's GSR RSE, but little smoother on the surface. And the difference between the VAXEE PA and PD is the hardness of the base and the edge design for the most part. The surface of the VAXEE PD is smooth as heck. It's so smooth that it makes the stock skates on my GPX Superlight 2 feel like butter. And seriously, using a sleeve on the surface as smooth as this one sounds completely unnecessary to me, but of course that depends on your skin. I have not used the VAXEE PA and PB pads myself, but I'm guessing that the hard base on the PD makes the surface feel even smoother. It genuinely takes smooth on the cloth pad to a whole nother level. For full-size skates, which I would guess most people have on their mice, the glide feels very strange for me. Firstly, it feels slightly muddy when I waft my mouse gently over the surface, and when I make quick movements, it feels way faster than I expect. Pretty much mid to high static friction with low dynamic friction. But that alone doesn't accurately describe how this feels. This surface gives a sensation that I'd best describe almost like physical mouse acceleration. When starting a glide or changing directions, the transition from standstill to motion and vice versa feels noticeably gradual. It's not that the pad is slow, rather it feels like the glide ramps up and down, and for me that sensation just doesn't feel right, especially since I tend to flick a lot in game. So quite often I feel like I'm always trying to overcome that acceleration feeling, which makes me feel detached from my input. And you know, when I flick, I want my mouse to stop precisely. On this pad, it feels like my mouse floats to a stop and jiggles slightly afterward because it is just so smooth. That is my experience using full-size mouse skates on this pad. Dot skates though, that acceleration sensation is not as noticeable. To me, it feels a lot more natural to aim on this pad using dot skates. I tried Artisan P8 dot skates and those on this mouse pad are freaking smooth, but if you want to get rid of that acceleration feeling, I use something that feels drier on cloth. I think it was Silver Fox dot skates. X and Y difference on this pad is pretty regular. Vertical movement has more resistance than horizontal. Really nothing out of the ordinary. Now here's a quick sound test to give you a better idea of the texture and smoothness of this surface. The base is grippy as hell. Seriously, once you set it down on your desk, it's basically impossible for it to slide unless you deliberately lift it up. And you know, the pad's weight also keeps it planted firmly on your desk. One downside is that because the base is sticky, a lot of dust and dirt will stick to it when you reposition the mousepad. VAXEE's recommended method to clean this base is by wiping it down with alcohol and a lint-free cloth. Alternatively, I tried using my lint roller and it works like a charm. I think this is a method which most people would be able to do at home compared to using alcohol. But of course, wiping it with alcohol is the most effective way if you want it to be as fresh as day one. I didn't find any specific game that I particularly enjoyed using the VAXEE PD. While the surface feels amazingly smooth, the acceleration sensation makes me feel disconnected from my mouse control on this pad. That's how it feels to me, which unfortunately makes it more difficult to aim than on other mouse pads. It's just not an experience that I'm comfortable with for gaming. I tend to flick a lot and I prefer a pad that allows my movement to feel direct and responsive. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean it by the speed of the pad. Same goes for tracking when it comes to quick changes in direction during motion. You know, I need it to feel direct. There can be resistance, it can feel slow, but just not, you know, using dot skates does feel much better though. And using Artisan dot skates, I still feel a bit of that sensation, but not as much compared to when I'm using full-size skates. Now, final thoughts and what do I think of its value? I wish I could enjoy this mousepad a lot more than I do because the craftsmanship, the concept, and the design of this mousepad is, I would say, exceptionally well done. It's definitely got the potential to be an iconic mousepad on the market because this one really stands out on its own. And it's not trying to be an artisan mousepad, it's doing something different, and I love that. The VAXEE PD feels like a step forward in how we look and think about mousepads. I mean, taking just a step forward, no solid footing just yet, because I feel like there is much that can be explored with a pad like this. But the surface with this hard base, I just can't seem to get a hang of it. But of course, I cannot say that this is a bad mousepad, because aside from the glide experience, everything else about this mousepad is spectacular. I might probably need to spend much more time conditioning this pad because it's much harder and tighter than other pads that I've used before, and I'm hoping that the surface will wear in to the point where it feels better to me. For now, my experience with VAXEE mousepads, the VAXEE PEK is my favorite. That one is a bloody good mousepad for gaming. Now, of course, that pad does not have a hard base like this one, which changes everything, and it is slower as well, but I feel so much more connected with my aim and plays super well on the PEK from the first day that I got it. That one is just one of those pads that just clicked with me, and I feel so connected with my aim when I use it, especially when I play Valorant, and Valorant is a game that I play the least, and I could say that the PEK gave me that feeling like I am cheating, which is something that I rarely feel from mousepads. Anyway, just to share again, VAXEE has been working on more pads with the PD base, so basically this shape and design. They have 3 hardness levels available in this size and a full 500 by 500, and different types of surfaces including the PEK surface, which I enjoyed so much. I will leave a link to their article which explains it a lot better if you want to find out more. So even though I did not enjoy the experience of this one as much as I would love to, I am glad that they are continuing to do more with this base and design. I feel sad because the glide experience just isn't my thing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to support my channel. And I guess I'll see you in the next one.